Welcome. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 26 for Wednesday, November 11th, 2015. I'm Tailgate Mayor. I almost said it again, man. We do it backwards order. Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm here with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's happening, man?
Well, we're way too excited because we have our first guest, and I think we're trying to figure out how to make that work. Hopefully, for Matthew's sake, that we'll get it all bunched together and we'll come up with something that people will want to listen to.
I hear you. So, as Sherwin just mentioned, we've got a fella on. We are tickled to death, and it's Matthew Bishop. Matthew Bishop is a freelance photographer. He's covering all kinds of racing down in the South. He started covering NASCAR in 2014 with the AAA Texas 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. If y'all remember the 2014 Texas race, you'll remember.
I think something might have went down there.
Something might have went down there, Sherwin. It was the Gordon Keselowski fight, and standing right in the middle of it is Greenhorn Matthew Bishop, holding up his camera and taking photos of the whole thing, hitting a home run on that first assignment, catching the shots of Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski duking it out. Real cool deal. It was picked up by the AP. It was run on just about every sports media outlet that you can find. Prior to the podcast, I actually searched Google for Gordon Keselowski, clicked on the first link, and huge splash screen with the photo there, and right under it, it said, credit to Matthew Bishop. I thought that was cool as crap.
Pretty much the definition of going viral as a pro.
That's right. So you can find him at the Tweet Up at a bunch of races throughout the season. That's where we ended up meeting the first time. You can find him on Twitter at @mbishopphotos. And you can find him online at MatthewBishopPhotos.com. So without further ado, Matthew Bishop, how's it going, man?
Good. It's great to be on. How are y'all doing tonight?
Man, like we said, we're tickled to death to have you on. So
it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And you've been a fan for a little while too, I'll say. And listening to the show, we are humbled by your viewership, listenership, whatever we call it.
I've enjoyed listening to it in the car rides to and from races.
That's good to hear. We always start the podcast off with the same thing, and that's the what you drinking portion of the show. So I've got a Sweetwater IPA going local here, and on deck my throwback, my Jim Beam Black and Coke. Sherwin, how about you?
I got something kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily new, but it's very fun for Atlantans. It is the Walking Dead Blood Orange IPA from Terrapin, which is, obviously paying homage to the fact that Walking Dead is filmed in Atlanta. So that's a fun local brew. And I've got the bomber size, which is the best size.
Matthew Bishop, man, what you drinking on today?
I've just got a Mountain Dew. I've been working on a paper all day, so I've been sticking to the energy drinks.
That's right. Dale Jr. would approve.
Yeah, and Matthew Bishop, he's also a student, I believe, at Alabama. Roll Tide, right?
Auburn. War Eagle. Oh.
That's right. It's actually War Eagle. We'll kind of wrap that up. Hopefully those boys will give them hell, Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man, I was winking at Sherwin when I said that one, so I hope you don't hang up on us. Well, being a fan podcast here, we wanted to ask you a few questions, and maybe a few that are a little different than other places. Being a fan podcast, we're not shy about who our favorite driver is, but you don't hear it much from the media. Of course, media folks but they're sworn to be impartial and all that, but they got to be rooting for somebody. Matt Bishop, who you root for?
Well, you're going to hate this answer, but I'm always pulling for that good story or what's going to be the most fun to watch or the best racing. So normally the underdog, whoever's fighting, the person in first place, I'm always a fan of. But growing up, I was always a huge Bill Elliott fan.
Bill Elliott, awesome Bill.
All right, you're in even better company now.
Yeah, you are.
We Georgians like the Elliots quite a bit.
Yeah, I grew up watching Bill Elliott. I was actually Bill Elliott for Halloween one year, so I was a big Bill Elliott fan back in the late '90s, early 2000s.
So you've been following his son a bunch, I imagine.
Yeah, I started following Chase about 2 years ago down in Pensacola at Five Flag Speedway when he was still racing super late models on a regular basis.
That's cool as crap. Were you shooting some of them?
Yeah, I've shot a couple of his wins down there. First race I shot, actually, he won. I think that was October of 2013, I want to say.
I got to tell you, I'm getting goosebumps here just thinking about those. I've enjoyed watching him. Yeah, thinking about those short tracks and thinking about being there shooting those. That's really cool. And have you done any shooting at any of the Xfinity races that he's been in?
Oh yeah, I haven't shot anything, none of his wins, but I've shot plenty of Xfinity races and a couple Cup races he's been in so far.
That's cool. So what what I think we really wanted to talk about here today, I introed it, or I previewed it in the intro there, but it's that Texas 2014 story, man. So we'd love to hear stories on the podcast. We tell them every once in a while, especially after we've been primed a little bit and we're at the track or something. I always love enjoying stories at the track. But, man, you've got a hell of a story from Texas in 2014, and I was wondering if you might be able to entertain us with that.
Yeah, of course. For the most part, it started over the summer of 14. I really got serious about photography and racing photography and started working with race22.com. It's a short track website that cover a lot of racing from, the Virginias all the way down through Alabama, Mississippi. Started doing some work with them and shooting with Matt Weaver, who writes a lot of their Super Lake coverage and also covers NASCAR on a full-time basis now. And he and I got together and, we were shooting and working on some stuff in the Southern Super Series that's in through Florida, Georgia, and parts of Alabama. And just through conversations he and I were having, I expressed my interest in eventually wanting to move up and have the opportunity to shoot a Cup race. And last November was when that opportunity finally came around, and I went out to Dallas with PopularSpeed.com and shot that race weekend with them. And that was my first Cup race after doing, tens and tens of, probably over 100 short track races before that. And that was my first Cup race, and that's where the picture came from.
I think it's awesome that it's obvious that you're a fan of short track racing and stock car racing well before you ever got into it. I think that's an aspect of being a fan that I don't necessarily process other than, I used to see Chase Elliott drive the little bandoleros around the bull ring at Landon Motor Speedway probably 8 or 9 years ago, but never really, really got full-time into racing at a level below Cup. So I can appreciate that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. One of the biggest super late model races of the year is actually coming up 2 weeks from Sunday, the Snowball Derby down in Pensacola. And I think that's actually going to be broadcast online, and that's a phenomenal race every year to watch.
I did not know it was going to be broadcast online. That is cool as crap.
Yeah.
I want to say speed51.com is going to broadcast it online.
Okay. I assume we'll
y'all
see
might remember Bob Dillner from Fox Sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
That's his website, and he anchors that broadcast.
Yeah, I think I first started really paying attention to the Snowball when I think Kyle Busch went down and won it, and then maybe the next year Johanna Long won it, and it was a couple years after that Chase won it, and then it was like, okay, I need to pay attention to this race because it's obvious that there are big name people that go down there, but the person you're looking for to win is the next star. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's actually where Kyle Busch found Eric Jones. Eric Jones beat Chase Elliott. Eric Jones beat Kyle Busch one year. And Kyle Busch walked up to him later and said, I want you to come drive my truck.
Yeah, I think that was in,
that's how Eric Jones
in 2012?
Yeah, something like
that was one of the most impressive performances I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch immediately put Eric in a truck.
And he's
last year's winner was John Hunter Nemechek. His dad, Joe Nemechek, ran in the Cup Series for a long time.
Front Row Joe.
Yep. And John Hunter's coming up and trying to, make his way into the Xfinity Series. He's racing trucks full time right now.
Matt, do you get to meet these guys like in person? Do you get to get down there and shake their hands and stuff?
Oh yeah, talk to him on a fairly regular basis.
Are you starstruck every time now, or are you just in it, as a pro at this point?
There's some moments still where it's that, you got to pinch yourself to realize, do I actually get to do this? I mean, I never forget how lucky I am that I get to do this on a regular basis. But a lot of it's starting to, I hate to say it, but a lot of it's starting to wear off because it's just turning into just, you go out there, you get the job done. But I still never forget how lucky I am that I actually get to do this.
Who's a recent starstruck that you got to meet?
This whole year, seeing Jeff Gordon has just been a different level because you just realize this is his last year in the sport and you get to be a part of it and get to be there for it. It's just amazing. I think at Indianapolis, when I was there for his last Cup start at the Brickyard, was just cool.
So take us back to Texas. I want to continue that story and maybe dive into a little bit of it there. So you were, how did you get to where you were to start taking those pictures? Did you know that something was going down, or did you take off running after you heard something? How did you get right in the middle of all that? Because I got to imagine there's a bunch of photographers around, but you were right there on it.
Yeah, I think towards the end of the race, I was down towards the entrance of pit road, just getting the cars coming off of turn 4. Figure if anything big is going to happen on the last lap, it might be coming out of that last corner, down towards the start-finish line. And that was also where Jimmy Johnson's pit box happened to be, and he was leading the race towards the end and eventually won it, so I wanted to get the celebration there. I heard over the radio and saw it on the giant TV that they have on the backstretch there.
What do they call that thing? Big Hoss?
Big Hoss.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that thing's just massive.
Yeah.
But I saw the restart there and heard some people talking on the radios how, there might be something going down afterwards. Both, there were definitely some tension between the drivers, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
After the race, I started making my way down that way and jumped up on the wall. It was they pulled into Paul Menard's pit box as the crew was tearing that down, and then I just jumped up on the wall, and I believe it was Keselowski's car or Gordon's car. I forgot which one was closest. Was right there up against the wall, and then the other was on the other side. I think it was Keselowski's was closest, and then Gordon pulled up. And Gordon walks around the edge of the car, and I'm just standing on the wall, and I just start taking pictures of it. And just, Harvick comes in, shoves him, and then, fists start flying, and then, I get hit a couple times, and I almost fall off the wall there, and it was a mess.
That's cool.
Absolute mess.
So, after you shoot that way, are you sitting there thinking, holy crap, I'm on a gold mine now? Or are you just trying to clean up your wounds?
To tell you the truth, after that, I was kind of like, okay, well, that was crazy. But that being my first Cup race, I wanted to go shoot victory lane because I'd never been in a real victory lane in an NASCAR race before. So I hauled butt down to victory lane, got Johnson coming out of the car. And then during his TV interview, I was looking on the back of my camera, scrolling through some of the photos. And that's when it hit me that I'd gotten something special. When I saw some of those shots of Keselowski getting elbowed or, arms wrapped around Gordon. And at that point, I just ran right into the media center and put it all on my computer and started going through it all.
So what do you do next? Maybe for our aspiring photographers out there, what was the next thing you did? So how did you get picked up by the AP, for example?
Well, it was really funny because at first I'm sitting there just thinking, oh, this is cool. Yeah, it's neat. Nothing big is going to come of it. But then just talking to a few people in the media center, Jeff Gluck was one of them. Matt Weaver told me that another photographer out in Dallas was like, you might want to go, walk back to the AP office and show them that because there weren't many photographers standing up there after the race at the beginning. So I figured it was worth a shot, and I walked back there. And immediately as I walked in and they started looking through the photos I'd gotten, they realized what I had and started the process for them, or me filling out paperwork and them taking the photos and distributing them.
So what was the first time that you saw your photo on a website or on the, I mean, it had to be printed too, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, it made front page of USA Today at one point,
Holy
ESPN
crap.
magazine. I mean, I was getting emails and pictures from people sending me from all over the country.
That's real cool. Did you have I imagine you've got a whole stack of USA Todays now, huh?
I actually have a framed copy on the wall. That I saw that and did, and just like, I have to have this and have it safe for a long time.
That's a heirloom now.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat moment. I saw it that evening. A few hours later, the AP staff photographer there in Dallas told me, set a Google News alert for your name because it's going to be going off a lot over the next week or two.
Wow. And did it?
So I was getting emails and notifications about all this stuff. I mean, it popped up everywhere. I think I saw a couple even overseas. But the big moment, it pulled up on, just little sites right after the race, and it just got bigger and bigger from there. I think the first place I saw it was USA Today's website.
Wow. That's a hell of an initiation.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was one heck of a day, I'll tell you that much.
Man. Yeah, I'm just sitting here in goosebumps. I love the story, and that's really cool. I had no idea how. I mean, did you know, Sherwin, how even like you start submitting a photo or something,
No, I didn't have a clue. I mean, I think we learned a little bit about this situation not long after it happened, because I think Jeff had sort of promoted the idea that this photo had gone viral in a sense. I mean, that's what happened. Viral in all the right ways, and we didn't really know who Matthew was until we got to meet him and connected the dots. Almost a year later.
Right. Which was, I mean, in that a year later, it's still fresh in your head. That photo? Are you serious?
Yeah.
And I think in one of the tweet ups, Gluck introduced you too and said Matt Bishop with the Texas photo is over there.
Right.
Yeah. It's still, I still get chills when I think about it sometimes.
That's fantastic. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's start talking about NASCAR and the NASCAR body and all that. Let's get some good old fashioned fan opinions from you. What?
All right.
What? That sounded confident. What's the one thing you'd change about NASCAR? And that's an open-ended question, whether you think you should answer in terms of getting more fans watching or butts in the seats or better racing or whatever. What's the one thing that you think you would do to make things better?
I think my answer is going to accomplish every single thing you just listed.
Excellent.
More short tracks.
More short tracks.
Yes, sir.
More
Hi,
short
George.
tracks. That's more flat short tracks. Maybe anywhere between 10 and 25 degrees of banking. Relatively flatter short tracks like you see all over the Southeast.
Gateway,
I think would be
Nashville
perfect.
Fairgrounds, Milwaukee Mile.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio.
And even if you can't do it, I understand the Cup Series has its, revenue model that works and is in place. But take the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series and do some one-day shows at local short tracks that, just dot the map everywhere. I mean, you got Greenville Pickens in South Carolina. You got Motor Mile. I mean, there are tons just in North Carolina within 2 hours of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
There are great short tracks everywhere. South Boston. I think that if the sport gets more short tracks, I think the racing will be better and you'll get more fans and you'll get more butts in the seats.
Can you imagine what a Thursday night show at Bowman Gray would be with the trucks?
Yeah, it would be. It would be spectacular. I mean, it would get exciting really, really quickly, and I think that's what the sport needs right now. Is because a lot of times, I love the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, but like Texas, we'll go for an example. This a few weeks ago, you got the trucks on Friday night, Xfinity on Saturday, and Cup on Sunday. for the most part, you saw the same race 3 different times. With, Saturdays and Sundays had some of the same names. But for the most part, you saw, a substantial amount of long green flag runs, not a whole lot of side-by-side racing. And it's just that typical 1.5-mile race that you see, but it's just spread across 3 series over 3 days. And I think if the sport gives each series its own identity, that it's going to help it a lot more.
Man, that's some great insight, especially from a guy who's been all over the short track series and circuit down in the South and Southeast. Have you been up to Eldora at all?
No, I have not. I really want to, but I have not been able to make it yet. I'm going to try to do it. It's actually on my plan for this summer.
Oh, man.
It's going to be, the weekend before. I'm going to go up early for Indianapolis and try to make it.
That's cool as crap. Yeah, you and everybody in this room here wants to definitely wants to be there.
I might go.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you. What are so speaking of those plans, what are your plans for next year? You know where you're going to yet, or is it pretty open-ended, or what's the story?
For the most part right now, it's open-ended. I'm looking at anywhere between 15 and 20 NASCAR races.
Wow.
And then short track races, I have no idea because I'll just, those will pop up when I can get to them. And then I'm going to try to branch out next year and do some football games and basketball and just see what else I can get into.
Wow, that's cool. Hey, I'll tell you what, here's a question for you. Tell us a couple names that we should be looking out for that we don't know. We know John Hunter Nemechek, we know Chase Elliott, obviously, but some folks that you've seen around these short tracks that we should be on the lookout for that you think is going to make waves.
There's one right now you might have heard of recently. He just signed with Brad Keselowski next year for a truck ride, Daniel Hemrick.
Daniel Hemrick. I'm looking at Sherwin. He
is a great driver. I think he's about 24 years old. He won the Legends Million at Charlotte a few years ago and has been racing super late models. And he's an incredible driver. And he ran this year in the Truck Series with NTS Motorsports, and next year he's going to run with Brad Keselowski.
He ran that 14 Dayglow green and orange truck, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's good. He's real good.
No, he's excellent. And then the two that I have talked to and heard about, who've raced super late models the last couple of years, and this year have been making the jump into the K&N series and a few truck starts, is this year's K&N East champion William Byron. He's going to be somebody to watch for over the next 2 or 3 years. And Dalton Sargent.
That is a hell of a name.
I've heard that
races and made a couple of truck starts and some super late model races, and he's going to be somebody to watch.
Dalton. I thought you'd be bigger. That's great.
Dalton Sargent has a really cool story behind him. He's from South Florida and spent a lot of his younger years up until about a year and a half, 2 years ago in Europe, trying to make it up the Formula One feeder series into Formula One. Realized that wasn't going to come to fruition and came back home and has been racing full-bodied stock cars for about the last 2 years, year and a half. And he's been an incredible driver to watch. From the first time I saw him race in a full-body stock car, you could tell that he was going to be somebody special.
Well, that's awesome.
And you heard it here first on the PETM podcast. We'll have an I Called It episode with Matthew Bishop at some point.
That's right, about 2.5 years.
Yeah, when these guys are winning races and vying for championships.
They will be.
So let's talk about this last week. I've heard, we've heard everybody over the media talking and everything about Phoenix. Want to get your thoughts. I'm sure me and Sherwin will wax poetic about ours at some point. But wanted to hear your thoughts about the race of this last weekend, what you thought. And, I'll leave it at that because anything else I say will bias it.
Right.
I think it's just another weird little kink in this year's chase. I mean, this year's chase has been different. I mean, you had the issues between Kenseth and Logano. You had Jimmy Johnson getting out very uncharacteristically early. And I think having a shortened race just added another notch to just how this year's just a little bit different. I understand why they called the race, because of how much money that it would cost to keep everybody there an extra day. But the best way I've seen it put is you don't end the NFC Championship game halfway through the third quarter.
I
think
can't agree with you more.
The equivalent of what last weekend's race was.
Yeah.
Or you don't stomp the ALCS or the NLCS in the seventh inning. It's kind of, I mean,
because somebody's leading it, 3 quarters doesn't mean they're going to be leading a team. We've seen that plenty of times. That's why races are, like this last weekend's race was 500 kilometers. That's why they're that long. They're not 250. They're not 100, because to win it, you got to go 500.
That's a great way to put it.
I totally agree. I hated it from my guy that I picked, which was Kurt, because he was coming.
Right.
And then, he would have had, I guess, almost 90 laps.
Yeah, 93 laps,
almost
something
a
like
third
that.
of the race to get another shot at it. It clearly had a good car.
And I picked Harvick, so of course I picked Harvick.
I mean, I'm glad for all the junior fans. It's always good for NASCAR when junior wins. But you know what? The roar over junior winning didn't happen this last week, because the NASCAR fans know that this is just one of those weird deals that doesn't really count.
I'm curious. This is the second year of this version of the chase, and already we've had a weird story. And I think
4 races in a row.
Yeah, and what's interesting, when they came out with this with this chase, they said, or all the media, all the fans, everybody was coming up with scenarios. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? I would say out of those thousands of scenarios, we just had 3 or 4 of them in the last few races.
Yeah.
Matt, do you think that's kind of telling of this style of championship, that either this is going to keep happening, or do you think – because I think last year, as much as folks might have been, like myself, might have been against it, I think it worked out correctly. The champion driver won the championship. Everything worked out okay, and I thought, well, maybe I was wrong. And then this year I'm thinking, well, maybe I was right.
Well, what if Brian Newman finishes 1 position ahead of where he finished? What are we saying about last year?
Yeah. I don't know. Matthew?
I like it because it's exciting every weekend through the chase and all through the year. It produces more excitement than anything we've seen. But I think it just shows that anything can happen. Literally anything can happen on any weekend through the chase. It's going to affect whether or not you're one of the 4 left at Homestead. And I think that shows how important getting that early win is. And it just emphasizes that so much more.
That's a good point. Level-headed guy here, Matthew Bishop is. He
definitely is. He doesn't get nearly as excited one way or the other as we do, which is fine. It's actually better. That's a good thing for the guests when you got 2 co-hosts that get way too excited. But I guess the way I look at it is, I felt like it was the casual viewer that would have called the 2003 championship season to be boring. The false tidal wave of fandom that we now have seen has fallen off the way it should have fallen off, because NASCAR's fake popularity has drifted away, and now we're left with a chase that we have to continue to modify year over year, because we started it at a time when it was actually not needed.
So we go into Homestead. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say it was not needed, but I would say that what they have now, I think it works for the most part, but there are always going to be those moments that you look at yourself and say, is this really what we want to do? But I think over the long run, over the next 10 years, we're going to see that this championship format does work. But you just have to give it the time to build, and for the industry to get used to it, for the drivers and the crew chiefs and the teams to get used to it, because this is only the second time we've done this.
Yeah, and from a fan perspective of myself, I'm thinking, well, we're batting 500. Last year was good. This year, kind of weird. So are we going to be batting 900 in 10 years, or are we going to still be batting 500,
Well, and my point of view is...
You got to... No, go ahead,
Matt. All right.
I think you have to look at this entire season has been a little bit weird since
Good
Daytona,
point.
where Kyle Busch broke his leg. Kurt Busch was suspended. You go through the first 12 races of the year, then Kyle Busch comes back and he gets a waiver that he can run in the championship, and he makes it all the way to Homestead. This has been Jeff Gordon's last year. The whole season has just kind of had a different feel to it than years past.
Yeah, and that's something I had told Sherwin prior to this, or during the pre-show here. I said, if you look at the 4 drivers that are left, I'm kind of excited about who they are. Not necessarily about how they got there, but if you look, we have Harvick, defending champion. Good to see him in. Let's see what he does against his previous trophy. You got Kyle Busch, the guy who was out for 10 races because of all that, all the deal, and watching the drama with him coming back and winning races after the broken leg thing. We got Jeff Gordon retiring this season, looking for the curtain call, looking for the walk-off, whatever we call it. And we got Truex Jr., who's the wild card, kind of like the Ryan Newman of last year. I think the 4 that are in there, that's a compelling 4 and a strong 4. And I'm looking forward to the race. It's more about how they got in there. But I do think the guys that are in there are actually, it's a very compelling Final 4.
It definitely is. It's going to be a great race to watch.
Yeah, I think certainly the year has been very strange in a lot of ways with all these anomalies that we've had with the suspensions and the getting hurts, and it's Jeff Gordon deciding he's going to retire. And all of that is very good that those guys are in, they're in the chase in the end. They're in the end. They have a chance to win it, and you have Truex, which is a great story. I'm on the fence on if Truex wins, how that impacts the sport in terms of how does that look? Like, what did we really do here if he wins? I don't know that other sports have really ever had that moment. But it would be interesting to discuss it. So I'm glad that it's about to happen. So I can't wait to see it happen. So see how it goes.
Yeah. So that brings us to the picks. Matt Bishop has been listening to the show. He knows how this part goes. So I'm going to turn her up and we'll see how it happens.
All right.
That was from Pocono. Were you watching that race when that happened, Matt?
I think I was. I've seen a couple of good commands that I've liked. I've seen more bad, but I've seen a few good ones.
Yeah, that was the whole point of recording it for me.
Yeah, we always text each other back and forth during the commands saying, "Oh yeah, he nailed it," or "What in the world is this corporate idiot doing on here? Doesn't even know what NASCAR is. Drivers, start your NASCARs," or something,
Yeah.
So, that's our picks. We'll let Matt Bishop go first, man.
All right. I think the person who wins the race on Sunday is going to be the champion. I don't think there's any way around that. I think you've got the 4 best drivers out there right now, and I think to win the championship, you're going to have to win the race just like Harvick did last year, and I think Harvick's going to do it again this year.
That's really strong, and Harvick, what is he? He's like 4 for 4 on clutch. I think it was maybe Bob Pockers. I can't remember who wrote the article. No, it was Matt Weaver who wrote the article and said if clutchiness is a factor, Harvick is number 1 in clutchiness.
Well, he's got the 3 wins and then the 1 wreck the field thing.
Right. And the just rain at Phoenix. I mean, but every time he's found a way to get in. Whether it's win, whether it's wreck the field and deny, or whether it's have the weather gods do a dance and something happens and he's in.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you. But here at the PETM podcast, we have to pick different people. So let's see. Actually, my guy finished like DFL, didn't it? No, Harvick actually did pretty good. Who finished better, Harvick or your pick?
I think
you
finished
picked Kurt,
second,
so
and
I
I finished ninth
second.
or seventh.
Dadgummit, so I got to finish or pick somebody. So I agree with Matt Bishop that who wins the race is going to be the champion, and a champion will win the race. So when it comes down to it, I'm picking with my heart. I got to go Jeff Gordon because that way I can say I called it next week and be happy and let him retire on a win like that. I'm willing to throw away the pick if I have to, but I'm there. And Sherwin, it's up to you. It's down to 2 though.
Yeah. So I mean, sentimentally, I will be rooting for Jeff Gordon. I'd love to see that. I'm going to go off the grid. I'm not going to pick a chase driver, a championship eligible driver, because I think that's more compelling if it does happen. I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin, who's very good at Homestead, and I think still has something to prove this year as a racer. So that's my pick. I'm going with the FedEx number 11.
Now, who do you think is the highest chase finisher then? Who's going to win the chase?
For me, I think it is an all-out battle between Jeff and Kevin, and I think it's a top 5 battle that whoever doesn't make a boo-boo on pit road is going to win the trophy.
You didn't answer my question. Butthole.
Jeff Gordon. I think Jeff Gordon is more poised to not make a mistake than Kevin Harvick. And I don't mean that individually as a driver. I think Jeff Gordon's team is less likely to make a mistake than Kevin's based on the season that we've had.
That's a good perspective. I like the perspective of, okay, if a chase driver doesn't win, who's going to – I agree with you, actually. I agree that if chase driver doesn't win, I think Jeff Gordon's got the advantage. But if chase driver does win, it's going to be Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, he's fast.
But I'm picking Jeff Gordon. Matthew Bishop, he's got Kevin Harvick, and you've got Denny Hamlin. This isn't the normal length of our podcast, but I don't want to. We'll keep people wanting more. How about that?
Yeah, sure.
Matthew Bishop, man, tell us something you want to promote.
My website and my Twitter handle at mbishopphotos, and check me out at matthewbishopphotos.com all the time.
And I'm sure both of our fans will do that.
We hope both of them do.
And yeah, man, we're looking forward to this race. We'll have to catch up again. We can't tell you how much fun that this is having you on the podcast and doing this thing. And we started this thing back in May because we were pissed off and wanted to talk, and we talked to each other so much that we said, why don't we just record ourselves doing it? And now here we are with you. Hey, one quick story I'll tell about Matthew Bishop. At Darlington, if you remember, Darlington Throwback Weekend, something NASCAR absolutely did right, was promoting that. We walk up to Matt at the tweet up, and he's wearing a Reagan 84 T-shirt.
That's right. He certainly was.
Dressed for the part. So, Matt, can't tell you how much we appreciate you being on. Thanks a lot, man.
Great. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
All right. And we'll do it again. Hopefully we didn't offend you too much.
Oh, not at all. It's been great.
All right. So, with that, let's close it out. Any final words there, Sherwin?
No, just I mean, you already said it. We can't thank Matthew enough for being on the show. It's really cool to try to figure out how to do a guest, and we'll see how it turns out. Thank you very much, Matt, for your candidness and for being a part of the show. We certainly want to see you down the road at races and on the podcast.
Well, with that, we'll close it out. Once again, we are PETM Podcast. You can find us at PETM Podcast. Don't forget to check out Matthew Bishop at mbishopphotos and matthewbishopphotos.com. I'm Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Andrew Sherwin at Pregame ENG.
And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Yeah, and we also have a email address, petmpodcast@gmail.com. Thumbs up, y'all.